think there are a number of changes to the relationships between artists and the music business. The first big change simply is the artist now has a direct route to core fan base, to the people who want to have a 7-day-a-week connection with an artist. Prior to the web, realistically, artists didn't know who their fans were. Beyond the mosh pit and the fan letter, they didn't know who they were selling their music to, who they were performing to. Now they can, through all the different digital channels. And that direct fan relationship, to me, is really important.
So now, it's very common for you to, if you're interested in an artist's music, for you to be able to open up a direct communication with them. 15 years ago, this was kind of unheard of. You certainly wouldn't, have the address of an artist you're interested in to be able to start a dialogue with them. So that's something that's quite interesting. I think just the ways that the musical public is much more kind of intimately involved with the musical process now.
To be able to go direct to fans and say, on Twitter, here's my music, or on SoundCloud, I put my music, and you can get fans actually talking about your tracks, or at 2 minutes 22 seconds, I love this bass line, and this user is sending you this directly through this platform.
From an economic point of view, I think if you are creating something new these days, I think there is actually it's much easier to make music these days. I think that's definitely true. Obviously, through the onset of programs, whether it's GarageBand or whatever, there's all kinds of programs that are relatively cheap that you can install on your computer that once upon a time would have cost hundreds of thousands of pounds to make. And I suppose, in order to kind of get access to this hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of studio equipment, that would have meant like dealing with record companies and people like that, and people that had the kind of, the means of production to do that. People can do that kind of thing directly themselves. Now, unfortunately, that seems quite utopia, but I think that what you've got now is actually not just a surplus of music, but actually a surplus of really good music. It's more than the market can bear. I mean, it's hard now for musicians to complain about the injustice of not earning much money out of the music, because there's so many of them earning, doing kind of work of a high quality, of a high and recommendable quality, that probably in the end, if you had to divvy up the amount of money there is out there, they get about $1 each.
So, I guess in a sense it's almost tougher to get it's probably easier to get your name out there, but tougher to get your name heard. It's the sort of cut through the noise, if that makes sense.
For me, I think the appetite for music is as high as it ever has been, and crucially, the gap between the artist and the fan is disappearing. Artists and fans now can have direct relationships, and there are huge opportunities there. The challenge is making money and making sure that the people who invest get their cut of the money. So I think for me, the challenge really is we have artists, we have a fan, there's some sort of exchange of money. What does that exchange look like, and how do you get your business partners involved in that?
So artists now make 70% of their income from touring. If you look at somebody like Taylor Swift, she'll probably gross maybe $30 million on her 1989 album, whereas for her 1989 world tour, she'll gross $250 million. So that relationship's changed a lot in terms of what consumers are willing to pay for and where the money's being made.
Yes, I think the lines are becoming blurred to an extent. I mean, you can definitely be sort of a self-made artist. I'd say it's probably easier now than ever to be sort of a self-made artist, because you can become sort of popular through a night you've set up. You can sort of play the role of promoter and artist, and you can sort of, in a sense, you can sort of do your own PR if you have the right know-how and the right contacts. I mean, I think having the right contacts is still very important. I mean, the sort of the cliche is not what you know, it's who you know. But, I think that's still important. Having music industry contacts can definitely still put you ahead, and we see that all the time.
I find it interesting and perplexing and frustrating that no one ever talks about Bandcamp and these things. They just announced last week that they've generated $100 million in revenue for artists, and I can't remember what the cut is. It's something like 80-20 for artists to Bandcamp. So, I don't understand why more isn't being done to push that model where artists have more control, they're making more of the money, they've got more of that direct relationship. For me, that's a really, really interesting, exciting bit of it.
I think the changing role of the manager is the most interesting. So the manager sits between the artist and the various different business partners. Traditionally, they were sort of the middleman. They did the deals and then they managed the relationships once the deals were in place. I think the job of a manager now, when they're working with a new artist, is to work out, this is the artist, this is the fan base, this is how we're going to make money, and therefore, these are the business partners we should work with. So that is a great opportunity for the manager, who often felt a little bit they did the deals and then they were sort of cut out. But it also means managers now are the entrepreneurs of the music industry, and some are up to it and some aren't.
Certain genres are more, like rock and jazz. They're still very much a band forum where you get together and you play together or you write together, or at least everyone's input has significance. But electronic music today, I can make a track and it's all me with the facilities that we have today. So yeah, I think it definitely has changed.
I think the other thing that the internet and the web has enabled is artists can talk to artists. And I think in the grassroots artist community, that is also very exciting. A lot of singer-songwriters, they're in their bedroom, they're writing songs, they've no idea whether what they're doing is any good, they don't understand how the industry works, and what the internet enables is that artists can talk to other artists, and that's a great resource, both commercially and creatively. And I think that it could probably work better, but actually it is starting to grow organically, and that is another great innovation that the digital has allowed.
I guess things are a bit more honest and upfront. There probably isn't as much, blowing smoke up people's asses and stuff like that. You have to be very realistic about what people's prospects are, how much money they can stand to make, how long it's going to take. So I think things are probably a bit more upfront and maybe slightly more BS free.